Новата сезона на Агенда 35 ја почнуваме среде сериозни предизвици за македонските интеграции, предизвикани не само од блокадата, туку и од внатрешните превирања на самата Унија. Она што е важно во вакви услови е да се одржи реформскиот курс, затоа што реформите не се прават за Брисел, туку за подобрување на стандардот на македонските граѓани.
На тој пат важно е исто така да имаме пријатели поддржувачи кои не само ќе ни помагаат во процесот на реформирање, туку и ќе се борат до крај за идејата дека ЕУ не може да биде комплетна без Западен Балкан. Таков пријател дефинитивно е Грција, земјата со која политичките тензии полека се претвораат во можности за заедничка соработка и поддршка.
Тука во Атина избравме интересни соговорници токму на оваа тема, со кои што разговараме за заедничките можности и проекти, но и за состојбите во самата Грција. Останете со нас. Развојот на настаните на домашната политичка сцена и неизвестноста околу составот на новата македонска влада создава грижи и низ регионот и низ Европа, првенствено околу можноста за загрозување на понатамошната имплементација на Преспанскиот договор. Просторот оставен за насцена да стапат сили кои се залагаат за укинување на договорот, внимателно е следен од неговите гарантори и од соседите. Иако во Грција ваквите можности ги разбудија националистичките кругови, кои бараат од владата на Нова демократија да преземе цврсти чекори и одговор, дури и во форма на блокада на македонските интеграции. Официјалните ставови на властите праќаат смирувачки тонови, дека договорите мора да се почитуваат, без разлика на владите и целосно и доследно да се спроведат. Ние го поддржуваме пристапниот процес на Северна Македонија и Албанија и ќе продолжиме со нашите напори за што поскоро свикување на првата меѓувладина конференција. Секако во однос на Северна Македонија го додадов она што го истакне и грчкиот премиер Киријакос Мицотакис, пакта сун серванда. Договорите мора да се почитуваат без разлика на владите, вели шефот на грчката дипломатија повторувајќи го ставот за цврстото противење на Грција за центрифугалните сили кои можеби ќе сакаат да ја прекројат картата на нашиот регион. Во секој случај, без разлика дали властите кај нас ќе ја следат оваа логика. Она што е интересно да се спомене е дека во последниот период има дипломатски ангажмани од југ во насока на помош на македонските интеграции. На самитот на Економис, посветен на Западен Балкан, што се одржи минатиот месец во Скопје, грчките политички представници и од власта и од опозицијата, но и грчките бизнисмени пратија недвосмислени пораки дека итно мора да се одржи првата меѓувладина конференција. Пред неколку години ретко кој можеше да поверува дека Грција ќе стане еден од најголемите поддржувачи на нашите европски интеграции. Грчките политичари и официјално во своите изјави и нисходниците на европските институции лобираат за приказната дека Европа не може да биде цела без Балканот. Она што останува се разбира е доследна имплементација на Преспанскиот договор кај двете земји. Во Грција се уште се чека на ратификација на трите меморандуми во тамошниот парламент.
Потрошувачите во Грција очигледно брзо им се вратија на старите навики за купување во продавници, кафе или ручек во ресторани, дури и во време кога пандемијата повторно се заканува да наметне одредени рестрикции, бидејќи бројот на заразени со корона руши неславни рекорди. Овој потрошувачки ентузијазам веќе се пресликува во последните економски индикатори до средината на годината. Евидентиран е раст на продажбата на мало за 8,2%, на извозот од речиси 17% и вкупен економски раст од 16,2% заклучно со јуни. Поривот на потрошувачите да го надоместат загубеното време, додека седеа дома и ваквото физичко движење по улиците беше недозволено, истовремено ја овозможи на грчката економија веќе да надомести 2/3 од се што загуби за време на пандемискиот локдаун.
It's baby steps. Every year is better. The cool thing is that we're open and we're allowed to work, and every day it's getting better and better. Now it's winter, so tourism is over. We're waiting, hopefully, for the best next year.
From what I heard, it really affected it, and a lot of businesses got closed. But from what I can tell, it's kind of getting back to normal. But the vaccination rate is really low. I think 52%, or so. I think it needs to be higher, and hopefully everyone will be fine.
It did, especially last summer, because all the restaurants and nightclubs and coffee places were closed. But thankfully during the summer everything was open. Many tourists visited Greece, so I think we're on the right way.
Дека грчката економија силно заживува, ни кажаа и од Хеленската малопродажна бизнис асоциација. Според заменик подпредседателот Антонис Заΐрис, досегашните податоци се многу охрабрувачки.
Nowadays that we have no lockdowns, the demand is going up, rewarming again, and we should focus as the Greek government on specific and very concrete issues. For example, to move forward the investment, to increase much more the exportation in order to strengthen the GDP rate. As regards the retail sector, because the retail sector in Greece is very, very important because of participates in GDP in a medium average percentage of 16%, is going, of course, very, very well. As a result of rewarming demand on behalf of the consumers. And we have an increase in retail sector till now of 8 till 10%. That is a very encouraging figure.
Но освен зголемувањето на производството, извозот и потрошувачката, оптимизмот дека грчката економија годинава ќе оствари најдобар економски резултат во последните 20 години, произлегува од перформансите на туризмот како носечки столб. Петтина од целата економија на Грција е туризам. Генералниот директор на Фондацијата за економски и индустријски истражувања во Атина, Никос Ветас, е поголем оптимист дури и од грчката влада, па и ММФ, така што неговите проценки за опоравувањето се уште попозитивни.
The economy right now is recovering very fast. We anticipate that in 2021 real GDP may grow even up to 8%, following, however, a very deep recession last year of about 9%. These are unprecedented big swings that other European economies also have. For Greece, both the downside and the upside is more than the European average. And the reason is the reliance of the Greek economy on sectors that were directly hit by the pandemic, and then they recovered, including, first of all, tourism, which is a big part of the Greek economy, but also retail trade, hospitality and restaurants, entertainment, transport, of course. So all this was hit very badly, but now the recovery has been stronger than people thought. Now, just to put things in perspective though, Greece has been in deep recession after 2010, so this was the almost 10-year crisis with 3 rescue programs, the IMF being involved. In some sense, the country dealt successfully with this crisis, but it left a cumulative recession. The Greek GDP today is much lower than what it was in 2008. And the unfortunate thing is that just at the time the economy was recovering, we were hit by this pandemic, we had to go down, now up again. So now we're looking to the next years for strong growth.
Ветас објаснува дека грчката влада, како и речиси сите во светот, морала да им помогне на компаниите со антикризни мерки да ја пребродат кризата, да спречат масовни отпуштања, но во ограничен простор за менаџирање наметнат од огромните дефицити и долгови на земјата од претходно.
There are limits to what any government could do in such an unprecedented time. The recession was mitigated partly by the measures that the government took. Those were primarily targeted to support businesses with, however, the provision that they will not proceed to fire the employees. As a result of that, we did not have an increase in unemployment despite the big recession. So that was the main meat and potatoes of the measures. Support businesses so that people do not get fired. At the same time, of course, expenditure had to increase in areas like healthcare. Hospitals had to be strengthened to directly deal with the people who were that needed treatment. Obviously, as a result of past deficits, but also the measures that shrunk the economy through 3 successive adjustment programs. Greek public debt is a big percentage of the Greek GDP. But to be honest, during the pandemic, this was not a constraint. And the reason for that is that both monetary and fiscal policy in Europe put a big umbrella over to protect the member states, including those with high debt. And it's not just Greece, it's also larger economies like Italy, for instance. So as a result of that, the cost of borrowing in the global markets actually is extremely low for Greece.
Според Ветас, лекциите од пандемијата може да се гледаат низ призмата на предизвици, но и како можности за грчката економија.
There are a lot of challenges along with opportunities. Let me start with the opportunities. And the opportunities is that the global economy is recovering strongly. And Greece has the opportunity to become a more extrovert economy, not only when it comes to traditional areas like tourism and shipping, but also in exports of manufacturing, including food, medicine, mechanical parts. We saw a very significant improvement in these areas during the pandemic, because you know, as the global value chains are being restructured, and Europe is realizing that perhaps it should not always rely on manufacturing in really far away places, but it can have manufacturing closer to home, because crises like the pandemic might come back in the future. So this is an opportunity for increased presence of manufacturing in Greece. So one thing is that this recovery presents an opportunity for Greek businesses to increase their exports. The challenges are how to run faster in this path, and that necessarily means using not only the available EU funds, but attract more foreign investment. This in turn presupposes that there will be improvement in the functioning of public administration. And that's, in my view, this is the main challenge of the government, along with what we discussed just before, which is that in 2020 and in 2021, the Greek government was able to run some quite big public deficits, but this cannot be sustainable. So you need to have high growth and at the same time cut the deficits.
Но и покрај предизвиците во економијата, притисокот врз цените на храната и енергијата, кој што властите се обидуваат да го ублажат со даночни олеснувања, и од друга страна, постојаната трка на стапката на вакцинација со бројот на заразени, Грција се чини може малку да здивне.
Грчката економија е веројатно една од оние кои почувствуваа најголеми турбуленции во последните десетина години. Од бездна во екот на финансиската криза и длабока рецесија лани, денес овде владае оптимизам. Економијата закрепнува од последниот удар на ковид и се очекува да порасне дури и до 8%.
Mr. Bakianis, welcome to Agenda 35.
Welcome to Athens and welcome to our City Hall. It's a great pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you. You've been elected as a mayor in 2019. What can you say about the city and its development in these years?
Well, you know, the pandemic came at a cruel time for Athens. Just as we were emerging from a very long, a very deep economic and financial crisis with a newly found sense of confidence and optimism and dynamism. But here are the good news. During the pandemic, we were able to put partisanship, populism, and old-fashioned politics aside and focus on facts, truth, and transparency.
How did you manage to do that?
Well, to a great extent, thanks to our Prime Minister, who made a number of difficult decisions early on, a number of brave and bold decisions that were actually critical for protecting public health. And now we are moving forward. The economy is rebounding. Athens and Greece is not just bouncing back, we're actually bouncing forward. And we believe that the years to come will be very, very good years, because we strongly feel that after a long time we are on the right side of history.
Oh, you said you've managed to cope with COVID-19. What were the biggest challenges?
Well, for us as a city, the number one challenge was making sure that those who are vulnerable, those who are usually, under the radar, those who unjustly and unjustifiably so feel invisible, are taken care of, are protected. So practically, to just give you a couple of examples, just in the first lockdown, we created a new homeless shelter. We're able to host 400 people. It's one of the most advanced such centers and shelters in Europe. At the same time, we reinvented a service called Help at Home Plus, which means that each and every Athenian could just pick up the phone and someone from the city would come, knock on his or her door and offer food, medicine, or any assistance. Urban centers tend to be plagued by loneliness. This is something that we want to fight against. For us, and this is the Greek way, this is our tradition, this is our history, this is who we are, it's about solidarity. It's about being next to each other and supporting each other, especially during crises.
Did you make some campaigns for COVID, for communication with the citizens? How did you communicate?
Well, on a number of levels. On a central level, there were campaigns, especially at the beginning, where people were advised to stay at home. There were campaigns that had a very clear goal of actually educating everyone about this new challenge and this new threat that we all faced. The role of experts was actually critical, but also it's not only important to look at this bottom-up. It's also important to look at this, top-down. It's also important to look at this bottom-up. For example, we engaged a number of communities that speak different languages in Athens and tried to actually inform them about COVID and how we can all together protect ourselves.
Did the people listen to these measures? I mean, did they follow the recommendations from the authorities?
I would say that to a great extent they did. It's not a coincidence that Athens was actually singled out by the World Health Organization as a best case, as a best practice when it comes to COVID. There is a social contract in this country, and I'm extremely grateful to all Athenians, as I should say. I'm also very, very proud of all Athenians. Now, it hasn't always been smooth sailing, as I'm sure you can imagine. There were points when we were actually hit by fatigue. There were points when there was a lot of pressure, a lot of psychological pressure. But overall, I think the historian of the future will conclude that Athens and Greece did a very, very good job. As a result, we also had the opportunity to reintroduce ourselves to the world, not only to our neighborhood, Southeastern Europe, but to the whole wide world. Because, we are very, very proud of the Acropolis. Of course, we are very proud of our ancient glory. Athens is a city that has 330 days of sunshine per year. A beach is only a 20-minute drive. But at the same time, Athens is also a modern, a dynamic, a vibrant metropolis where we are able to offer high-level, professional services to everyone, Athenians, visitors, or investors.
We were talking about all the beauties of the city. How the tourism was affected by COVID?
Well, 2020 was a very, very difficult year. I mean, there's no question about it. 2021 is looking very, very good. We're actually close to the levels of 2019.
So this summer actually was good.
We had a very good summer. Right now, as we speak, it's the end of October. If you walk around the center of Athens, you'll see hundreds and thousands of tourists. Now, that's actually rather extraordinary. But I think that everything is actually connected. The fact that Greece and Athens had this professional, serious, and responsible response to COVID gave a sense of security to visitors and tourists to come to Athens and not just enjoy the city, but share in a very different quality, a very different quality of life.
Before coming as a mayor to Athens, you also had an experience in the local government, so you have a big experience in this area. How do you see the role of local government in the society?
Well, I believe in a strong local government, and I believe in a free local government, free from party or partisanship entanglements, free from political interests. Don't forget that local government has a great privilege. We are actually the closest democratic institution to the citizen. We could well be the nucleus of democracy, and that is what we should be. That is, after all, the tradition of Athens. Don't forget that democracy was born here thousands and thousands of years ago, and we take democracy very, very seriously. There were times during the economic and the financial crisis when Athens resembled the Weimar Republic, and yet we came out of this crisis having isolated extremists and populists, with our institutions as solid as ever and our democracy as strong as ever. Now, that's not a coincidence. It happened because Athens has a democratic DNA.
So how do you communicate these local needs and needs of the citizens of Athens with the central government? Do you see yourself as some kind of a mediator, maybe?
I wouldn't say mediator, but I would certainly say that every mayor, all around the world, not just in Greece, not just in Athens, I'm sure it's the same in your country, every mayor is the voice of his or her citizens.
So you're talking about transparency and openness.
We have to take this voice very, very seriously. It is, as you say, about openness, of course. It is about transparency, of course. But it's also about making very, very clear about what the city's needs are and what the city's aspirations and dreams are. And making it very clear, not only on a national level, but also on a European level.
How do you see your collaboration with other municipalities in Greece?
Well, for us it's extremely important. We cooperate with all municipalities in Greece as we speak. We have very strong bonds. It's not just a political exercise. For us it's also a very practical exercise. We share experience, we share best practices, but we also do that with other cities around the world.
Do you have this kind of good collaboration with mayors and municipalities from other parties?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. Potholes have no ideology. There are no left potholes and no right potholes. Potholes must be closed. The trash has no ideology. There is no right trash, there is no left trash. It has to be collected. I mean, local government is about real life. It's about real solutions to real problems. We don't have the time or the energy for endless political debates. We have to be quick and efficient.
Do you have in mind some projects that you want to realize during the next period?
If you walk around Athens, I think you will witness and experience a city that's actually transforming. Whether it has to do with our urban lungs, where we are investing generously, especially because of the climate change, or to be more exact, the climate crisis. Whether it has to do with liberating public space and redesigning public space, which we all need, especially for the young and for our children. Whether it has to do with the digital services that we offer. For us, the pandemic was a catalyst. we were able to move forward with long overdue reforms, whether it has to do with the social solidarity net that we have actually extended across the city, or whether it has to do with the help, the very serious help that we offer to our business community, because we want this, our business community to be able to get out of this crisis and continue growing. As we speak, I would say that the city of Athens is very, very active on a number of levels. We are battling on a number of fronts. I will never say that we are not moving forward without a battle, but that's how it is if you want to get things done.
You're talking about challenges and prosperity, and can you tell us more about the biggest problems you are facing now? Where can you locate them? About Athens?
I would say that overall, Athens has a legacy of bad urban planning that actually comes from the post-war period, when a number of rash decisions were made. As a result, Athens is not as organized as it should be. But now we have the opportunity to actually move forward and heal the wounds of the past. I'm not saying that I'm a magician, there are no magic wands. It takes time, it takes patience, but I am actually very, very optimistic that this is the moment of Athens. Much like it was the moment of Lisbon 10 years ago, or the moment of Berlin 20 years ago, or the moment of Barcelona 30 years ago. This is the moment of Athens, and this is the decade of Athens.
Talking about the relations with North Macedonia, can you tell us where do you see the possibilities for collaboration with maybe our municipalities, or I don't know?
I believe that there is a lot of potential. There is a forward-looking agenda and a positive agenda that we can build. It's about building a bridge of understanding, a bridge of cooperation, a bridge of friendship. After all, local government is able to very effectively express human sentiment and the human sentiment of our peoples. And I clearly feel that our people want to come closer.
Mr. Bakranis, thank you very much for the answers and for the messages.
Thank you so much.